Today, we're going to be talking about this thing, my Canyon Aeroad CF SLX 7. Bosh. So, welcome back to the channel. Today I just wanted to go over and just cover my bike which I bought last January. The Canyon Aeroad was always on my radar as my first proper race bike to get me back into cycling. Last year I finally managed to get the funds together and pull the trigger. It's definitely a little bit of a controversial bike, especially living where I'm living in the mountains here in Tyrol. So I just want to explain why I picked it, why I didn't go for something more climbing orientated, and my dilemma falling between exactly two frame sizes. So first off, the basics, it's a Canyon Aeroad CF SLX 7 with the Shimano 105 Di2. Every single one of my bikes in the past has been running Shimano. I'm not a fan of SRAM, and it's kind of one of those cases of just sticking to what I knew. So when I was in the market for picking up a new bike, there was three main criteria I was looking for. One, a bike that was fast. Two, a bike that was efficient. And three, one that could definitely climb up some of these mountains. For the area that I'm living in, some people might argue that the Canyon Ultimate might have been the better fit for me. But actually, the more I deep dived on the geometry and the sizing of all the Canyon bikes, the Aeroad and the Ultimate actually have very similar geometry. The Ultimate I kind of thought was more of an endurance focused bike, but like I said, the more I deep dived on it, actually the stack and reach is pretty much the same. It's just the top tube on the Aeroad is slightly longer and a little bit more stretched out, but this is something that I could deal with. So why did I go for an all-out aero machine living here in the mountains? If you've been keeping an eye on the pro peloton, you will notice that most of the teams these days don't really have dedicated climbing bikes anymore. They are just opting for the more faster, efficient aero bikes like the Aeroad here. Obviously, I'm not a pro, I'm just a keen amateur that absolutely loves getting outside, but this got me thinking, if I buy something like the Canyon Endurace or the Ultimate, would I have like buyer's remorse every time I saw an Aeroad? Would I wish that I'd bought one of those instead of one of the dedicated climbing bikes? And in the end, I really think yes was the answer. In my opinion, it is the best looking bike in Canyon's lineup. Much like my pain cave, it's a place that you want to be. It's a place that you want to train. So for me, I wanted a bike that I wanted to ride, I wanted to look at, and the other bikes in the range just didn't really give me that mojo. For me, just having a clean white bike, a clean slate, it just means you can mix and match any outfits, any colours. You can really get quite creative. Yeah, on the bike, it will still fit. I'm also a really keen snowboarder. There's an old saying that goes, look good, feel good, ride good. And this is definitely true when it comes to the Canyon Aeroad. Some people might disagree, but this is just my opinion and how I feel. It was a big wedge of money to splash on a bike. I was going to do it once and do it right. Fast forward an entire year of me owning and using the Aeroad, entering the Utztaler, did 10.5 hours in total in the saddle that day. To be honest, after a couple of days of rest, I could have done it all again. I didn't get any pain in my bum, none in my lower back. I never really get numb hands, I never get numb feet. I have dialed in the bike fit on this to a T, and it's just as comfortable as any endurance bike would be, in my opinion. I don't have the stem completely slammed. I do keep a couple of spaces in there just because I am doing some of the longer rides out here with 110mm stem, and the stack height that I have now is absolutely perfect. When it came to sizing these bikes, Canyon isn't for everybody. They are a direct-to-consumer brand, which means if you're not handy on the tools and you're a little bit worried about fixing things yourself and you normally just dish a bike to the bike shop, I would advise against buying a Canyon. Fortunately, I do like spinning the spanners and I am a dab hand when it comes to fixing my own stuff. Never afraid to take something apart. If they put it together, I can take it apart and put it back together again myself. If you're not a confident DIY self-mechanic, then I probably would choose a different brand. For the money that I paid for the Canyon, bikes from other brands, I would have been paying probably around £2,000 to £2,500 more to get the same spec bike than I did the Canyon, just because I cut out the middleman. It's for this reason that Canyon gets a lot of hate, and I do understand why. They are very popular, but Canyon as a whole, I have been really happy with their customer service team. Like I said, I had to send my power meter away. Within 3 weeks, they had it back. They offered to give me a €60 voucher for a shop to take my crank arm off for me, which I denied and did it myself. It's literally 2 bolts. But it's little things like that that take a little bit longer, but all in all, I have been happy with their service. But when it comes to sizing the Aeroad, I was in a little bit of a dilemma. I dropped directly between the small and medium size. What this meant is that I could fit both a medium and a small. The medium would have been a bit more stretched out, and the small I actually went for in the end because it would have been a bit more responsive and snappier in the turns. With the smaller frame, it's a little bit lighter and a little bit more compact. I think the saddle height and the frame, looking at the bike from a side-on view, it is kind of the perfect stance. The saddle's not too low, I'm not really that stretched out, so for me, the small bike definitely was the way to go. As for the bar and stems, I'm running a 110mm stem, I'm running the Aero drops, and I think I have them at 37 centimeters. Because the Aero drops are flared out slightly, it actually brings your position a little bit more upright. But what I found doing a lot of training rides on my own is when I'm stuck by myself in the headwind, I can just drop into the drops and maintain that position a lot longer than I could on the standard drop bars. So I would say if you're choosing a frame, don't be afraid to go a little bit smaller. It's easier to make a small bike bigger than it is a big bike smaller. Also, the bike industry is just notorious for pushing larger frames onto consumers, and even though it's a size small, don't let that bruise your ego. My first worry was the weight of the bike. Even though it's still a very, very good starting point, you can shave off loads of weight off the Aeroads to make it a way more capable machine. Living in the mountains here, weight was an absolutely massive issue, so the first thing that had to go was the original DT Swiss wheels. Nothing against DT Swiss, but you see so many Canyons with them rolling round from factory with the DT Swiss wheels, I knew it was going to be the first thing I changed. And once I started deep diving into the market of what would be the best wheel set to whack on this bike, I came across the Panda Podium Craftworks 5060s. Now, quite a controversial topic again, which I probably can go in deeper on another video, is the Chinese versus Western world wheels. But I definitely made the right decision. Joe from Panda Podium sorted me out with a set of 5060s, and to be honest, I've never looked back. When you lift them out the box for the first time, I was absolutely gobsmacked at the weight. Light as a feather, you literally can't feel anything. Together, the pair comes in at 1,290 grams. That's a 300 gram saving over the DT Swiss wheels. 300 grams might not sound that much, but when you take that off of a wheel set, it's absolutely game changing. Since putting this wheel set on, the bike just wants to go fast. It's nearly impossible for me to try and do any zone 2 rides, and once you get up to top speed, it just wants to stay there. They're extremely efficient. They've got an insane internal wing width, I think of 24mm. These give the Aeroad a bit more of an aggressive stance, and it's definitely the look I was going for. To complement a wheel set like this, I really didn't want to skimp on the tyres either. I'm running a set of Pirelli P0 TLR RS. They're tubeless ready, and I am running the Silca Ultimate tubeless sealant. I've had a couple of punctures on these, but nothing that the Dynaplug couldn't sort out. Wet weather performance is pretty good as well. I've done a few descents of Kutai in the rain and still managed to maintain around 75 kilometers per hour. So the trust is definitely there in the tyre. A brand like Pirelli's been making tyres for donkey's years. They develop all the tyres on the Formula 1 cars, so it's definitely a brand that you can trust. Some people said I was a little bit crazy putting a 60mm wheel on the back, living in the mountains here. They've been absolutely fine. A couple of people asked me how they felt in crosswinds, and honestly, like any bike in a crosswind, yes, you can feel it, but it is manageable and they're light enough that it's not really an issue. So when it is windy, I don't really even think twice about it. I definitely have full confidence in this wheel set. Big up to Joe and the guys at Panda Podium. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check out their shop, but don't be afraid to buy things from China. Most things are made there anyway, and going directly to the supplier can save you a load of money. So that's wheels and tyres covered, and next I will go on to the gearing and drivetrain. I'm running the Shimano 105 Di2, the People's Champion of group sets. It's Shimano's entry-level Di2 system, not as fancy as the Dura-Ace, not as light as the Ultegra, but the 105 does have a secret weapon. Looking at other bikes, you've got the Canyon CFR Aeroad, which would have cost me another 4,000 euros. Definitely wasn't going to be going for that one. I could have bought two bikes. So why the Di2 105? Living where I'm living, I knew I was going to be climbing a shit ton of mountains, and I needed a bike and gearing that I could trust. The reason for going for the Shimano 105 is actually because you can change the cassette to a 36 tooth on the back. Now you can't do that with Dura-Ace or the Ultegra, the cages just aren't long enough. I think my bike originally came with a 34 tooth cassette, and you might think 2 teeth isn't really that much of a difference, but when you're climbing mountains and for as long as I am in the day, I've definitely felt the help. But you might think, Brad, 2 teeth isn't really that much of a difference. No, it's not that much big of a difference. It's not quite a 1-1 gear ratio, but in the end, it still gives me the peace of mind that I've got a slightly bigger cassette on the end for those really hard, long, drawn-out climbs when my legs are super cooked. And also, as I build up my fitness and I do get stronger, I can always change back or even go to an even smaller cassette. I could even go down to an 1128. So yeah, seeing how we're going to be going, seeing how the training's going to be running, it just gives me that option to be super flexible on the rear cassette. Now down to the cranks, I'm running 170mm cranks, pair that with some Dura-Ace pedals, and the chain rings on the front is a 52-36. Pretty standard stuff for the Aeroad. All in all, with this drivetrain setup, I have been able to just conquer absolutely anything I throw at the Aeroad. Next up, we got the Cockpit. Now, it looks cool, but it's a nightmare to work on. That's an integrated cockpit for you. You can't have it all when it comes to these things. You can't have looks and practicality. I'm not afraid to get stuck in. And when I first bought the bike, because it is a European bike and I'm from the UK, I like my brake setup to be backwards, or moto as you call it here in Europe. But the UK way is having the back brake on the left. I can ride it the other way, but in emergency situations, I would just prefer it that the brakes are the correct way round, just for my muscle memory. As we're talking about the cockpit, I'll just quickly talk about my brake setup. They are just the regular Shimano 105 brakes, but I am running the SwissStop 34 RS brake pads. These ones are especially good in the wet, they're low noise, and the bite point is way stronger than the standard Shimano pads. The integrated cockpit and the aero bars, I do love Canyon's system because you can change the width of the handlebars. Now, I think originally it comes around 42 centimeters. I think right now I'm running around 36, 37 centimeters, which is pretty narrow for some people, but it's very snappy, very responsive, and I don't have to put too much input into the steering to make a big impact. As you can see, I have angled my hoods inwards slightly. This isn't really for looks, it is more for comfort, and if you haven't tried it yet, I recommend just toeing them in slightly and see how you feel. Your arms naturally want to sit in that position anyway, so don't knock it before you've tried it. Give it a go, and for me, definitely how I'm going to be running it going forward. I've had a lot of questions regarding my computer mount for my handlebars. This is the Gear Groove mount from Frames and Gear. It's a one-piece CNC aluminium machined mount. It's absolutely incredible. I've probably spent about 250 euros going through various mounts, trying various different things, just enough so that it can hold a Garmin and an Insta360 camera without bending, flexing, braking. And the one from Frames and Gear is definitely the one that's given me the most confidence. At the end of the day, it's housing your bike computer and an expensive 360 camera, so I'd rather that it stays on my bike with me, not snap off as soon as I hit a pothole. Next up is the bar tape. It is from Sella Italia. I switched this out for the standard Canyon one. It's way thicker, it's way softer, and it's way more comfortable. So a cheap upgrade for your bike, I can recommend it. 30 euros is the Sella Italia bar tape. The saddle is just Canyon's standard saddle. That is the Sella Italia SLR Boost. It's got a huge pressure relief channel in the middle. Even though it looks a pretty skinny and small saddle, it is super comfortable and it's never given me any issues. There are 3D printed variants that I have been a little bit interested in, but I did see a few comments online that people were saying when you want to slide your bum forwards and backwards, it's kind of hard on that 3D printed rubberized material, so I'll be sticking with the leather Sella Italia Boost. Bottle cages on the bike, they're just the standard ones from Canyon, nothing fancy, none of these titanium bottle cages, blah 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 blah. They're just the standard plastic ones from Canyon, super cheap, but they haven't changed shape, they haven't warped, they've been great all summer, and I will just be keeping these. One little quick thing that I did forget to mention is the K-Edge chain catcher. Now you might have heard me mention this one before. Obviously the clue's in the name, it catches the chain and it will just protect your frame. This has already proved its worth in gold for me. My frame is completely unscathed and I've dropped the chain a couple of times, so another really cheap investment like the bar tape is the K-Edge chain catcher. There are a few things on the bike that I will be changing for the 2026 season. That is a ceramic bottom bracket, some lightweight pulley wheels, which just replace the standard ones. They're not going to be your oversized ones, but they're also going to be ceramic. I will replace the brake discs for some Galfa rotors that I've kept my eye on for a while now. I think that's everything that I was going to cover today, but if there's anything that you've seen on the bike that you're not sure about, or you do want to send me a message, you can contact me over on Instagram at radxwatson. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.